Okay, let's start with the tree you saw in the road.
She said it was a place that was everywhere, but you couldn't find it if you tried.
I always thought the town was the worst part. And then I went through the tree.
See, you were lucky. The sun was still in the sky when you got here. People came to help. Not everybody gets that.
Lake of Tears, more like Lake of Fears. Am I right? Anyways, episode 4 of From has officially come out, and in this video, we're going to be breaking down some of our own theories about Sophia and who she really is as the man in yellow, why Boyd's ring popped up out of nowhere, and why the real bookmarks Julie is looking for could be Victor's drawings. All I can say is, with Fatima's infatuation with mud, I can only assume she's applying to become a mudbeard on this channel, in which case you're hired. We catch up with Boyd, who's trying to hold things together. We see how he has a tight-knit circle of people who he can trust with these things now. Though I wonder if they decided to communicate better, Tabitha and Fatima's visions could prove connected or useful. Sarah tries to understand Sophia, only for Sophia to start whispering something as soon as she leaves. Now, it easily could be interpreted that Sophia is the one who's been whispering into Sarah's head this whole time, but I think instead, Sophia, who has been known to be praying a lot recently, is actually speaking to one of the deities of Fromville, and essentially requesting them to set Sarah up in that moment. A reason I think this is Sarah was still hearing the voices even after Sophia stopped chanting. But we'll get back to them. We cut to Ethan, who's trying to use the radio, and Tabitha chooses to support him in his time of grief, believing that his dad visiting him in this imaginary lake of tears is just all in his head. Which honestly, I really find it strange that whenever a resident hears something or sees something, people still question it. Sure, there's a chance trauma is breaking their minds in some way, but more often than not, they're usually correct. There hasn't really been a moment so far where someone's trauma caused them to do something horrible.
You did this. Everything was fine until you went into the forest.
I think this is gonna help me fix this.
Yeah, I forgot about that guy. Either way, Tadala sees this as an opportunity to take her son to the settlement and potentially help him solve whatever quest he's trying to figure out. Or, in her mind, just help him through his grief. With Tabitha then making her way to Julie and Randall, who are working on finding answers in Ethan's books, which they end up finding those answers in the Grand Gulagog, which references another storywalker named Fred. Despite Tabitha inviting Julie, she's more focused on helping her dad, with Tabitha urging Randall to protect her if he can. I like how Tabitha's confrontation of the two does solidify the fact that they have more of a sibling relationship than a romantic one, and I do think it's much more fitting for them to have a brother and sister dynamic. Elgin later catches up with Sarah, and there's a surprising amount of forgiveness within this show between all the characters. I sort of expected more drama and tension between them, but they seem to get along fine, but despite literally popping his eye out with a screwdriver, Sarah trusts him enough to bring up the fact that she can hear the voices again, this cluing the audience into her moral dilemma. She doesn't know how much she can trust the voices or what they could intend. And later, when we see Sophia mysteriously standing out by the pool, as well as her story about Abraham later at the clinic, all of this could have been a test by the entities to see if they still had any control over Sarah. And it turns out when push comes to shove Sophia in the pool, they do. We cut to Victor and his dad, who are trying to bond while Victor studies the trees, claiming they are in fact changing again, with Victor eventually leading his dad to the pictures he drew and hid of the man in yellow. It's here he reveals that when they arrived to town, they actually picked up the man in yellow, who tricked them all into thinking he was just a regular human like them. I wonder if this potentially means that the man in yellow is officially gone and Sophia is just his newest form, which would really suck because I feel like they built up Douglas E. Hughes as this big antagonist for the story. And fans of the channel know I've been praising Sophia's character and performance, but still. Though there is something interesting Victor said here. He claims that later when he found his mom's dead body, the man in yellow was hovering over it, eating her. Only, wasn't Smiley the one to take out Miranda? Either way, we cut back to Colony House, which is currently going through some muddy renovations. Boyd tries to get Fatima to talk to him, and she's very open about the fact that she's making a sort of golem, or a monster similar to what she saw in the vision. And when he later comes back with Kenny, she reveals that she's doing this because it makes her feel more in control and less afraid. And while that could be disappointing for some, or maybe there's some who think this golem could still come to life and do something, I think in actuality, the big reveal between this subplot could have been Fatima still being connected to Smiley, which could play an important factor later on down the line. Still, they could have utilized the first episode of the season to reveal that information, so potentially something will still go down with the Mud Golem. It's as Boyd is leaving that he stumbles across a wedding ring, which turns out to be a duplicate of his own. Now, we could potentially believe that this is a storywalking Julie who popped up for just a few seconds to throw that ring on the ground, because she knew in the future that would play an important role. Some could theorize there's some sort of wormhole action at play, or there's another theory floating around that there is an alternate story playing parallel to their own, which could potentially explain the duplicate bracelets, the ghostly apparitions, and now the double rings. Essentially meaning that ghosts like Jim were actually just bleeding through from an alternate storyline or dimension. Now this theory limits the number of dimensions to 2, which I think is fine, considering you don't want to go all multiverse of madness in a project like this. But potentially, just like how the ghosts can bleed through, Boyd's ring also bled through, or someone from the alternate dimension pushed it through in that exact moment for Boyd. This could potentially mean that when he ran back to confirm that it was a duplicate ring, the same presence that pushed it into their dimension ran back and pulled it out. Now whatever this thing is could be doing it to mess with Boyd. It could even be the same entity or force that was throwing the Matthews stuff all around their house. Or it could be 2 other beings that are both trying to help Boyd and stop Boyd from getting answers. That or Boyd is just tripping harder than Jay did on the shrooms. All we know for sure is Boyd asked for a sign from his wife and he definitely got it. Or it's more likely just a storywalking Julie, or a storywalker in general. Julie is trying to convince Randall, who's skeptical about storywalking. She's debating if stuff from Fromville potentially seep into the real world, causing people to create things like Miranda's drawings or Tabitha's bracelets. Julie coming up with a plan following the book's tips about leaving a bookmark. Essentially, if she storywalks with the paper and draws something on it, when she comes back, something should appear on the same piece of paper. This would not only work as a test to see if she could actually change the story in any way, but if successful, she could essentially write down wherever she needs and storywalk to that exact moment. Unfortunately, she's not successful and ends up on the tail end of a massacre by the Man in Yellow, in a very creepy and cool scene. I'm glad she had the wherewithal to write down that symbol as fast as she could while being chased by such a demonic figure. And despite the fact that this symbol and this piece of paper didn't necessarily work, if you've seen my potential Storywalkers video, then we could believe that Victor's potentially a Storywalker. And if he is, could this also mean that his drawings are actually bookmarks? Meaning, with those drawings, they could travel to those exact sequences that are displayed? This would be a really cool way to combine both Julie, Victor, and Ethan's stories, and also could potentially solidify the King in Yellow theory. If these drawings and storybooks actually have a part to play within not only this realm, but bleeding into reality as well, then this is very resemblant of Robert Chambers' book, The King in Yellow, about a play people would read that would trap them in madness, or even transport them to a strange dimension called Carcosa. But if you want to see more about that, check out the King in Yellow theory video I did. We cut back to the settlement crew as they depart, with my gut still thinking Ellis is cooked. Though, on their break, Donna does give some serious final scene vibes.
If anyone is going to risk their lives to do something stupid, that person is going to be me.
When they end up arriving at the settlement, they get straight to work on collecting the food. And while Ethan is working on attempting to revive the bird or at least heal the bird with the lake water, Roger dooms them all and accidentally resurfaces the dolls, or scarecrows as some refer to them. Which, as it was rising from the water, I genuinely thought was going to be a mud golem for a second. And oh boy, are we getting closer to those trailer shots. And as I've stated in multiple videos by now, I think either Ellis or Donna are cooked, with Ellis being my #1 suspect. But I want to know what you guys think. Who do you have as being the victim of the scarecrows, Ellis or Donna? By the way, if you have any other theories, I'd love to hear them. Any support for the channel really helps. Otherwise, I'll be seeing you guys back for episode 5.
They come with you when you go.
I need you to listen to me, please. Okay, there isn't much time. Now, this is going to sound very, very strange, and you're not going to believe me, and I wouldn't believe me either. Okay, and I wish there was more time to explain, but if you don't come with me right now, you're all going to die.
What the hell was that?
That was death,
It's Grandma. Come to the window.
and it's coming.
We have seen unbelievable shit in this place. Roads that lead nowhere. Monsters that come from the dark. According to Boyd, there are evil fucking trees that trap you in dungeons.
People who were lost. They couldn't escape. She said they were holding on to hope, and when that hope was gone, they held on to each other.
Now you can understand! There's something in the room!